What's going on, guys? Zedd here, bringing you another Soul Calibur 6 video. This one's going to be my post-patch Season 2, well rather post-second patch of Season 2 tier list. Definitive. I've kind of had my ups and downs and my thoughts about this. So we're going to roll with it. As usual, my mind can change, opinions change, you learn new stuff, you talk to people, yada yada. You know the gist. But the idea is we're going to put characters where I currently think they are, and then I'll do this again next month, and so on, so on. So I'm doing this while streaming and I'm recording at the same time, so it's going to be a bit odd because there's interaction with the chat, but I am recording a video, so that'll be that. So let's just get right into it. Let's establish what tiers I want first. We can go from there. Welcome back, Zulu. So I guess we'll just call this S. It can be A plus, A minus, yeah. I don't really like the colors, but whatever. They'll do. They'll do. Just do B. I mean, I don't think people are B tier. That's the thing. Like, the bottom four tiers are relatively close, although there is a bit of a difference between A plus and B plus. Skip to F. I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Potato, potato. Really. I take it back. You know what? I do think these are the worst characters in the game. Okay. All right. So, I don't know where to start. So let's just kind of start with the ones that I'm fairly confident with, which is like my S tier. I might add one to S tier as I go through this, but fairly confident. So let's do Ivy, Sophie. I'm not sure if it's ordered. We'll establish that later. I like to try to order it though. Nina. Um, let's get that out of the way. Yeah. Okay. That's it for my S tier. In this order. So, yeah, Sophie. So I think that these three characters, they kind of just play they play season 2 really well with not a whole lot of risk involved and a whole lot of reward. Um there are characters that you could argue are in this tier as well, but like I'm just convinced that by a margin, so enough to put them on their own tier, right? That these are the three best characters in the game right now. Um, Ivy, she's just really solid, right? Like, if you have an Ivy in a good player's hands who can do the command throws, it's just really hard to deal with. Like, it's not the keep out, it's not even the up close game, it's just the whole package, right? You kind of get everything you want out of and everything you need in season 2 with this character. Her soul attack is good. Her new 3A A plus G is good. Her lethal hits are there. Reverse ring out, damage, Oki. It's just a really well-rounded kit with the benefit of having some of the most range in the game. So yeah, I think Ivy's just really good. Um, But I also think that Ivy doesn't really have, and what puts her up there more than anything is I don't think Ivy really has a dumpster matchup. Oh, I think we're okay. I don't think Ivy has a dumpster matchup, and that's kind of the biggest thing. Um, that puts her there on my list anyway. Beside her would be Mina. Mina really needs no explanation. I think she's really powerful. She has a couple of odd matchups, but they're not bad. Like they're not unwinnable. Um, she has most of the tools you could ask for. Her standing punishment game isn't really there, but it's functional. It works. She has enough tools to work with up close. Her combos and the utility she gets from them is ridiculous. Like the carry, the conversion into ring out or wall splat, the force blocks, the guard damage, the setups, the lethal hit setups, like the relaunch, everything you would ever want from an Oki game, Mina has it. She has a hell sweep that can go into full combo. Um, and like I already said, her defensive options up close are fine. Like they work. And she can keep away very, very well as well. I think Mina is very strong. One hit and you're in a mix, basically. Because she has so many ways to start a combo. And that's the other big thing with this character is they may not be launchers by definition, right? As in like an aerial launcher. But you have Wall Rising B, 4-4A, Full Crouch 1K, 3B, 2-2B, 4-4A, not sure if I said that already, um, and more. So she has most of what you would want in terms of Oki and combos and damage and guard damage and everything. Sophie is kind of the opposite of Mina, kind of. Super well-rounded kit, has everything you would want from like a neutral character, as well as kind of an annoying character. Her movement is super good. Her pokes are super good. She always was a pretty good character, but then they gave her her soul charge, and so now that kind of made up for her lack of scary offense and guard damage. Uh, and the changes they made to her soul charge are just crazy. They're just crazy. You kind of just have to block for 10 seconds. Like, not literally, but almost literally, you have to block for 10 seconds. So that really helps her, and I think she just works really well in the season 2 meta and like what you want to get out of it. And with the characters that did well against her getting nerfed, that also helped as well. So she's also up there for me. And then next up, I guess we'll do the tier below. Um, Amy, I'm really not sold on Amy being an S tier. I know a lot of people are saying it, but I don't think so. So Amy, as well as somewhere up here. Oh, and the top three are ordered, by the way. Um, where is? Oh, whoops. Urgi, um, Shanghua. Raph, Siegfried, Yoshi, Zas, um, yeah, I think that's it for now. So to order it, let's do this because I think these five are probably my top five right here, and then can be S tier, but yeah, exactly, exactly. I don't think purple is consistent enough to put her in S tier. That's kind of the main thing, right? to put her on par with these other three characters, which have their kits already right from the get-go. And same with Rugi. Like Rugi's good, but he has to take risks. Um, and once he gets Shura Blade for that round, sure. Like he lost his I-12 CE, but now he has an I-12 that just chunks your ass. And like his 6.6 BBB string does so much damage. But he doesn't get it until he CEs or does one of the other ways to get it. So I think these five are my top five. So Amy, just pretty good character, right? Like super fast, safe launchers, good lows, very evasive, a lot going on. Like you kind of have to know your stuff when it comes to both playing and fighting against Amy. So she's a little bit of a knowledge check in that regard. But even so, her stance pressure, you don't have to take that many risks because if you do, for example, AMS B parry or whatever, and it's middle parry AK, it's -2. Like, and it's kind of a get out of jail free because you can GI the AK, but then you're opening yourself up to the AB, which is steppable, at least offline. It's easier to do. Online you still can, it's just hard. And so it's kind of worth it just to block the K. And so there's that. Her high parry and low parry, they're not quite as good as mid parry, but mid parry as a move covers so much. If you really think about it, right, it covers so much um, of the good moves in this game, other than like high pokes. And even if you're gonna do high pokes, you can just do middle high, right? Like that's a thing she's allowed to do for some reason. So you know, I think she's a really good character, good rush down. Her neutral is whatever, but her pressure, and when she gets red roses, which is very feasible, um, she gets pretty, she gets going pretty hard. Ed Perry got nerfed. I know. Still really good. Like, a lot of characters, if you think about it, a lot of characters don't have super dangerous high attacks, right? Like, if Amy is fighting against a more neutral focused character, a punishing character, or maybe a slower character, there's not really that many highs that they're going to really contest with. So it's going to be a lot of, your 3As, your 3Ks, your 5Bs, your 3Bs. Like, it's going to be a lot of mid attacks, right? Or maybe 8-way run attacks. But fighting against characters like Talon, Xianghua, um, maybe Yoshi, um, 2B, like those characters may have more highs for her to deal with, but middle parry covers just a lot. She just covers a lot with it. Anyway, Rugi is, very powerful character. He hits hard when he hits. Um, his whiff punish game is very strong. His combos are strong. His Oki is strong. His soul charge just kind of. I think I would argue that Rugi's soul charge is one of the best designs in the game because it takes what he was already good at and just kind of, you know, buffs it up a bit, right? It doesn't change the character fundamentally like some soul charges do. Some soul charges are so insane that they fundamentally change the design of the character or make them bad at nothing, right? And that's rough. That was something I forgot to mention with Mina. Her soul charge is like, what? Hello? Always has been. Anyway, but Rugi's soul charge, 1KB is an actual threat and, versus the 3B lethal hit, right? So things like that. And then his combo damage is a bit better. His Oki is better. It's just a well thought out soul charge, in my opinion. It's not the only one, obviously, but I think it doesn't. You're not using his soul charge. And you're like, man, this part of the soul charge blows. Like you're pretty happy with all of his soul charge. And to top it off, when he's in soul charge, he just like yeah, he can just kind of go aggro, but it's the only time he can go aggro, and he has to take a risk to do so. And I could be wrong, but I think Shura Blade, you can get Shura Blade in Soul Charge too. I could be wrong about that. I don't know if that's a training mode only thing, but anyway. So yeah, I think his Soul Charge is very complementary to the kit, and I don't think it's too strong at all. As well. Yeah, it does give Shura. Okay, thank you. Yeah. So like, it's just really complimentary and it's a way to get Shura Blade. Granted, it's slow, but it's a way to get it without using CE. As well as Aswell, he's still a very like buttons heavy character. You can just kind of swing and accomplish things. Um, but he's not as scary as he once was. He does still have some of those strengths. Um, he's probably the one who suffered the most in terms of gaining things in season 2 because a lot of his new stuff is kind of jank or it doesn't work or it's not good. It's just not great. Um, so you don't really see it much. It has a place, but it's not great. Um, his soul charge still very strong, but they made it so that now his soul charge moves take more soul charge, or rather, using weapons arts and soul charge take more soul charge. So you're not sitting there dealing with the bullshit between like axe low and sword B plus K or whatever um, for 8 to 10 full seconds, right? So he got hit where he needed to be. He does still have some glaring weaknesses, and like if Aswell is your kryptonite, pick Talum. I swear to you, you will dumpster on Aswell if you play Talum. Like that matchup is holy ass for Aswell. So he's not unbeatable. Doesn't have bad or doesn't sorry has bad matchups. Um, he is what he is, but he controls a lot of space on the screen, and that's always tough to deal with. A good Aswell is kind of scary, but we don't see too many of them, so I'll be honest, Aswell could fall on my list. And I didn't order the rest of the list, so let me just take a second to do that. I think he could fall on my list, but I still think he's pretty good. He's still very good. Let's do... no. Yes. Yeah, okay. So let's do that. Dude, Reversal Edge. Reversal Edge will literally delete Aswell. So, Siegfried, pretty good character. There were so many points in time where he was like insane, and like you couldn't punish him when he was stancing because base hold or 2B plus K. You couldn't really play around his guard damage because it was super high. Like he was just a full meal deal. But thankfully, they reworked how his uh, vertical parry works. So now there's a little more counterplay to it, and you can actually hit him with proper punishes now. And sure, he has full crouch 3K, which is a stack of Dark Legacy, and when he's in Dark Legacy, it's a lot of damage. But it pops Dark Legacy, and it kind of just resets the game. So it is what it is. But the introduction of reversal impact, wow, resist impact kind of hurts him a little bit, and I say that in such a way like a little bit, because previously he could bubble with no fear. Um, he could bubble with no fear, whereas now you can actually bait it and resist impact, and he essentially just wasted Dark Legacy, right? So and they hit the damage on some of his Dark Legacy stuff too, so it's not like you're getting melted for it. So he's fine. I think Siegfried is fine the way he is. He's a strong character, but he's not super oppressive. Um, and yeah, I think Siegfried is fine. Very strong character. Xianghua, I've talked about this a lot on stream and in videos previously, but to kind of give you the rundown, she's really good at a lot of stuff. In doing so, a lot of players think that she should be here, but she's good at a lot of stuff. She's not really good at a whole lot. And that's kind of what holds her back a little bit. Plus, some of her worst matchups are the characters that are above her. So that can be a pretty big deal. And matchups are a huge factor in my tier list right now, because in season 2, I think that a lot of the cast is strong. So the number of winning versus losing matchups is a is a big deal for me as a player. So do keep that in mind as we go through. Anyway, so Xianghua, yeah, sure, she has safe launchers. People talk about that all the time. PXS Oki, okay, sure, but a lot of characters have Oki mix-ups that are more dangerous. And yes, she's safe. I understand that. A lot of players will comment on how safe she is. It's hard to whiff punish her. It's it's annoying to feel like Xianghua takes no risks. Some of that is true, some of it's not. Realistically, a Xianghua player doesn't have to throw out anything worse than -14, that being the PXS A or B series. However, if she's going to play that way, the only way she's going to get her damage realistically is going to be either CE or full crouch 3B, which is fine. Like, I'm not saying that as a bad thing, don't get me wrong. But you have to consider how she doesn't get her damage, that a lot of characters do get their damage, or rather, get really, really good situations. She doesn't really have a counter hit game outside of 6BB. She's very vulnerable to backstep in general, so there's that as well. But her reversal edge options in round one are all kind of equally trash. Her lethal hits are all read based, every one of them. So she doesn't just get lethal hits for funsies. And before anyone says anything about the auto GIs, yes, those are a read, unless you're using a super predictable string or you yourself are playing in a predictable fashion, and they all, except the low, lose to kicks. So, for example, if a Xianghua is using moves that are -8 into auto GI, it's a very valid tactic. Example, full crouch 3B is -8. If she uses that into an auto GI, it's going to parry most of your faster options. If you go for slower options, she's going to swat you out of them. Okay, fair enough. The fastest move she can do at -8 would be 18, seeing as how her I-10 becomes 18. Her auto GIs are going to cover 12 to 16. So the fastest thing I can do is 18. My auto GIs covers 16. And so there is a bit of a window there if you can find what frames work for your character to swat her down or use the kicks, right? A lot of characters have a mid version of 3K. It's a really good challenge. Like, I'm not saying use that after every full crouch 3B, although you could, but it's an option. So many players complain to me about the -8 into auto GI, and I'm like, but have you tried kicking her? Oh, well, no. Well, that's your problem, right? If you do it a couple times, the Shangha's going to stop auto GIing there. It's that simple, and then it's your turn, right? So it's not that ridiculous. And there are other characters with safe launchers, right? There are plenty of characters with safe launchers. Yeah, 4 to 12. So I may have had my math off a little bit there, but you can kind of get where I'm going with it, right? So Xianghua is not broken. She is hella annoying, I will admit, and that's my stance on her. She's strong, she's not broken, and she's really good at a lot of things, but not super good at anything other than having an I-12 CE. Everything else is done better by somebody else. So, yeah. Raf, Raf, I might have Raf in the wrong spot, I'll admit, because I don't get a lot of Raf exposure. Um, but I've done a lot of digging with Raf, and I've watched it a lot, I've talked a lot, and I played against a couple recently. Um, I think he's really good. I think he's in a good place. He has counterplay to his stance counterplay now, and his whiff punishing game is near unparalleled in theory. Again, in theory, if you can execute it properly, right? The 4-6 A, B, or K, and overall he can just be really oppressive if you can't challenge prep. And what a lot of characters had to challenge prep is now countered by access to AG from prep. Um, so that helps him a lot in terms of like keeping up his pressure. So I think he's a really strong character who has both offense and defensive capabilities. He's tricky to play. It's part of why we don't see him very often, of course. And his 1K, no one's ever talked about his 1K, but his 1K is freaking ridiculous. Like, it's pretty good on hit. It has a tech jump property. So in theory, on hit, you're kind of in a little bit of a mix. I want to say it's like, what is it? It's either +2 or -2 on hit. I think it's -2 on hit or something. So if you go for 2A, he's going to jump over your 2A if he goes 1K, 1K. Or if he does like 1K into 6B, it beats your I-12. Like, I don't know. It seems like a really good low. And no one talks about it. But that's where I think Raph is. Yoshi, I think, is also another character that could go down. Um, eh, but right now, I think he's still here. He shares a lot of similar strengths as Xianghua, granted a little more risk. But pretty much everything he got in season 2 made up for a lot of his weaknesses in season 1. And I think that alone, like previously I had him around kind of low A or high A minus, right? But the buffs, whoa,
Just thought he'd drop in and toss a sub for that 10-hour grind, man.
oh
Keep
thanks.
this shit up.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate the 3 months. I didn't know I had TTS on. That's funny. Thank you. So he got buffs to his neutral in season 2, and that is like the biggest thing for him. So he's got pretty good movement, and his offense is there. The frame setups and all that, they're there. His lethal hits they're very wacky, but they're good. They're very good, and they force you to make decisions you don't want to do. For example, if it's round 5 and you're at 2 bars and he's at 2 bars, but you're not in a position where you want to soul charge, soul attack, or CE, that's too bad. You have to soul charge. Like it's not worth risking eating that lethal hit, or lethal hits plural rather, um, by having 2 bars. It's just not worth it. So he kind of forces you to use your meter at inopportune moments. And yeah, his neutral got buffed, so I think he's a pretty good character. Now, that's honestly all I have for A plus tier, um, which is already in itself probably a bit of a hot take. But that's it. I don't think that there are any characters that can really rival 1, 2, 3, 4, these 8, um, other than these 3. So my A tier would be something in the ballpark of, whoa, hold on. Let's see, Nightmare. No, not Talon. Cassandra, Hilda. Yeah. So this is my A tier. Let's see. If I was gonna order it, I would do. Ba-dum-bum-bum. Yeah, a lot of people are gonna say that. We'll get there. A lot of people are gonna say Maxi should be higher. I know. I know. Something like this. This one may not be ordered perfectly, but the idea is the same, right? Like they're on the same tier. So I could be wrong on the order here, but forget it, right? Doesn't matter. So starting with Girl, realistically, the character hasn't changed much across the entire lifespan of the game. What has changed is kind of the way the game is played and how things work. So he there's one thing that he got in season 2 that's kind of interesting, and it's the extra lethal hits he gets off of um, the signs, right? So he now has, I think, it's either 3 or 4 different moves that can get lethal hits based on how many signs he hits, which is a really interesting way to approach it, and I like it. I think it's very good. And eventually, as the game goes on, you don't want to get whiff punished with 6-6B because that's one of them, or combos that can go into it. And you also don't want to eat the 1B because eventually that's a move that goes into it as well. So he starts to get pretty good as the game goes on, for many reasons. So that's just one. The other thing is, again, he had the strength before, but now with Soul Attack being introduced and a lot of changes into the different soul charges in the game, you're seeing a lot more soul charge now than you used to, or rather, the act of being in soul charge. Whether that's attack or raw use doesn't really matter. Um, and so now his Silver Sword lethal hits and even just the regular hits gain a lot more value than they used to. So that was a bit of a stealth buff to him. Um, and then 3K, 6K. 6K is kind of wild. 6K or 6K, I can't remember. Spartan kick. Anyway, you can hold it and go into signs, and that's actually really potent if you start to play like a bit of a mind game around it. I've seen some girls kind of work it in. I'm not saying it's a super god tier strat or anything, but it's a really interesting addition to his kit that I've seen some girls use, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes along with the world tour and whatnot, and what different regions do. But Garot's just a really solid character, right? 3A checks everything. His whiff punishes are there. 6BB is, or rather 6BB hold is crazy. His lows, they're okay, but they do exactly what you need them to do. His throw range is, I swear to God, his throw range is the farthest in the game. Like, it may not be, but it sure feels like it. Um, and yeah, he just has counterplay to meter mechanics, and meter is pretty important in season 2. So I think he's a really good character. 2B, 2B is still solid. I don't. There seems to be two trains of thought: either that she's still no worse than she was, so like top 8, or that she's garbage. And I don't really think either is true. I just think that, maybe myself included, but I think that a lot of players, when they're talking about 2B, are looking at it from a matchup perspective, which is weird because normally players are pretty good about not doing that, or rather as a whole. But 2B seems to be the one where it's like, if a player is good at dealing with 2B, they think she's garbage. But if a player is not very good at doing 50-50s and making reads, they think she's really strong. It's kind of weird, right? Um, Personally, I don't think her neutral is that good. Now, again, you hear like both sides of the coin. Her neutral is really good. Her neutral is really bad. I don't think it's very good, and I play Xianghua, so I mean, I don't think it's very good. Her AGS stuff and her stance stuff, it's while being a little easier to deal with now, because of the hit to 6BB. It's still kind of annoying to deal with. They hit the damage on the soul charge, so it's not as ridiculous, but it's still pretty good. I think 2B is pretty good. She's not quite as ridiculous as she used to be, um, but she's definitely manageable now. And I think that if 2B continues to get nerfed, which is possible, she could definitely fall and not be a good character. It depends on what they do. If they hit the power of AGS and they put it elsewhere, that could either be really good or it could be really bad. Because right now, as it stands, the frame data is awful for her. Like, if she wants to play neutral, yeah, no, she doesn't really play neutral. If she wants to play neutral, the trouble is the risk that she's taking to do so. Yeah, the buttons are huge, right? Like giant spear, great sword, axe, projectile, everything. It's huge, but it's all like minus 14, minus 12, minus 12, minus 16, minus 14. Like, it's all minus, right? And none of it's lows, for the record. Like, none of 2B's good moves are lows that are quote unquote neutral tools, right? So she has what, like 1K, which is a fast AP point. Then she's got 1B, which is a okay move. And then 1A is kind of slow. And then she has the Hell Sweep into the highs and the Fist series, but like that's whatever, right? Like, her lows just aren't there to play neutral. So she has to kind of get her damage from mixing you. So that's why I'm saying, if they nerf AGS and they put the power into the neutral, the question is going to be, was the nerf to AGS too much, or was the buff to neutral too little, or both? Was the nerf to AGS too much and the buffs to neutral don't do shit, right? Like that's kind of where we're at if they change the design of the character. If I'm being honest, I don't think that's going to happen. So, all that to say, I think 2B is almost smack dab in the middle of my list. Like honestly, if I could put her and Geralt in the same spot, I would, because I think it depends on who you ask, the matchup you play, how much you know, and realistically, it's kind of it's a little bit of a blender. Not always, but it's a bit of a blender, and so it's really comes down to 50-50, and there's not much you can do about that other than read the opponent. And that's just the way it is. Right. Everything else she has that isn't the 50-50, I think is kind of meh at best. So if they nerf the strength of like if they somehow nerfed AGSB, oh boy. Oh boy. That would be bad. That wouldn't be good. All right, moving on. Maxi, oh boy. This is going to be the one that like people will never ever cease to amaze me about this character. Like in season 1, even near the end of it, people were saying this character was like top 5. I'm like, you are ridiculous. What do you mean? And right now, the hot topic is Heaven's Guard is impunishable on whiff. That is a load of baloney, especially offline. Especially offline. It is absolutely doable. Yeah, sure. It's a little bit more about like what your character has, for sure. Like I can I12CE it, yes, but I can also 3B it just fine, and I do. Right. Astaroth, for example, might have a pretty hard time punishing it whiffed. Understandable, right? Um, Without HG, Maxi is the exact same character, other than a couple more transitions and situations are a little bit less of a brainless defensive read than they used to be. See, previously, I'm not saying it's a good option, right? Previously, though, if you wanted to take no risk, really, all you had to do was 2K. As long as you had a standard 2K, you could swap Maxi out of damn near everything he did. And likewise, right cross B, which, to give you guys a basic example, if you don't know offhand what I'm talking about, if he does 5 AAB, right cross B is the break attack vertical. He used to be not plus enough to do a damn thing against I-12 attacks. So he had to use neutral guard or PSL, which was awful. Now that it may be more than I-12. Truly, I don't know, but it was awful, and so that was bad. But now in season 2, Heaven's Guard makes it so that as a defender, you kind of have to stick your neck out or make the call out that he's not going to use Heaven's Guard. Here's the problem, or here's my take on it. Heaven's Guard costs him half a bar to use. Sure, it's not regiable, whatever. But if he doesn't land the lethal hit, big deal. You just got half a bar out of him for nothing. So if he doesn't use HG in a way that gives him the lethal hit, which is lethal A, I believe, the A attack, the low, I think, then whatever. But if he gets the lethal hit, he gains the meter back to do it again. That's probably the only thing that I would change about HG is to make it so that the lethal hit combo doesn't give him back this almost a damn near close, the same amount of meter it took him to do it. I'll get to 7-star. Other than that, on a base level, like, from the game start, Maxi is essentially the same character. You can still step duck in the same places. You can still backstep in the same places. He's still hella vulnerable to backstep and box stepping, if you know where and why. And his neutral is awful because they nerfed 2-2A to be -12. And again, don't tell me you can't react to the fact that he's in stance or not, because you can, right? And if you're that fussy about it, then if you're going to use like an I-12, just know that it's going to be neutral guard, and you can re-GI it. Or if he has meter, it's probably going to be H guard, in which case, sure, you can let it go, right? It's up to you. But you can definitely... No, it's not the Maxis that thought he was top tier. It's everyone else. Um, Box stepping is far from dead. 4-2 is still a movement option. I'll show you in the lab even. 4-2 is still a very valid movement. I'm not talking about 2-6G. I'm talking about 4-2. Still really strong. Um, Now, 7-star rebirth changes. The 7-star changes, I'll be honest with you. I I play against a lot of Maxi, right? Like I play against Rich Sticks, I play against True Circa, and I have another one on the side. Um, I hate video games. Those three are some of the better maxis out there, or the best maxis in NA, and or some of. And rarely in my sets will they ever get the 7-star sequence. Um, and even if they do, the only strengths he gains are I'm the man, which you're gonna expect after right cross B. Or Legend Kick becomes a break attack. That's kind of annoying. Or the BK series is a little different and it does more damage. But at the end of the day, other than I'm the man, it doesn't really do much for him, and he has to do a lot of looping on you and PSLing to even get it. So if he gets 7 stars, then you're probably being too passive. You're probably not challenging Maxi enough. Um, so that's a little bit on you. Is it impossible? No. Is it strong if he gets it? Of course. Like it's nothing but benefits, right? But I don't think it's impactful enough to be like, oh my god, it's a whole new character because you can get I'm the man. Like no, no. Um, he previously didn't really have that many good matchups. Um, Now I think he has better matchups, but now I also think that picking the right matchup into him is important. Now let me explain. Some characters you can play any character into them and feel fine. Okay? What I mean by that is Geralt. Geralt is like you're not gonna play your character into Geralt and be like, oh fuck, I'm playing as Geralt, like I'm fucked. No, like, but at the same time, in season one Maxi, you could play literally any character other than maybe Astaroth into Maxi and be like, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine. I can just move and 2K and I'm fine, whatever. But now the potency of dealing with HG and dealing with his stances, especially since the nerfs to 2-6G, his matchups have become a little more interesting and they become a little more involved. It's more important now to pick a character with auto GIs. It's more important to pick a character with evasive moves because you don't want to sit there blocking all day long, but you also don't want to 2K all day long. So, for example, Sophidia, Xianghua, Tira, Cassandra, Nightmare with his armor, um, Amy with 3A, right? Like all these characters, they all have tools to deal with, um, or the evasive moves rather, to deal with some of his stances. And it's not a perfect answer by any means, but you can usually tackle about 4 or 5 of his 7 or 8 options, um, just with that one evasive move. So that's what I mean, is that you can actually have a little more going on as a defender, and you have to. Whereas previously it was just like 2K, 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 and it was brain dead. You could do whatever you want. Um, Anyway, that's it for Maxi. I think he's hella overrated right now, and I think people are just way taken aback by HG's existence because they're like, wait, Maxi's actually a playable character now? What the fuck? I have to lab him now? Fuck. Like, I think people are way overselling the power of HG right now, and just give it a bit, and I think people will be fine. I think he's a solid character, but the anti-Maxi strats are still there. If you didn't know them, now you should learn them. Okay, so that's my thought on Maxi. I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's busted. People are like top 3, top 5. No, fuck. Hell no. Hell no. Nightmare, the same thing. I've always thought Nightmare was kind of like middle of the pack. I don't think he's really, really strong. I think the changes kind of hurt him overall, but then the addition of like the crouch throw and then also the laser gun or the Glock, I guess they're calling it, Glock stride. Um, I think those were solid. Like I think he's a solid character, and I think that those were good enough to counter the counterplay to some of his transitions and sequences. And they changed the way that like that you can step some of the guard breakers like in the past. As the patches went on, it became harder and harder to step his stuff, and so I think he's a solid character. And then you have, of course, 3AB. That's a thing. So the 3A button is now somewhat decent. I think he's solid. There's really not much more to say. I think he's solid. He's oppressive. He's annoying. With Night Terror Charge. Without Night Terror Charge, though, I think he's like, oh, it's okay. But with how often this man can get it and how seemingly easy it is for him to get meter to Soul Charge, I think he's pretty solid. Cassandra, the reason why I don't have Cassandra higher, it's the only reason I don't have her higher, is I don't think that her um, the damage she gets access to makes up for the fact that she is so linear. If Cassandra is using nothing but her verts, sure, some of them are harder to step than others, for sure. But if she's kind of spamming you with plus frames and plus situations, GI is a button, and it works pretty well against Cassandra. Or again, vertical auto GIs. There's quite a few in this game. They're pretty good against Cassandra. Um, she cannot really play a full offense around her horizontals like some characters can. Um, or if you think of Raph, right? If Raph didn't have prep, you could basically step the character all day long, and even then, you still kind of can. He can't play an offense around his horizontals, but they have a purpose, right? Think of Cassandra's horizontals much the same way. They're not enough to play a full game around, but they're enough to get the job done. They're enough to do what you need to do, right? So I think Cassandra's pressure is definitely there, but I don't think the threat of her pressure is enough to make it scary. Like personally, I've had no troubles just kind of blocking Cassandra and taking my turn when it shows up, or ducking the highs in her strings, or stepping the slower double vert attacks, things like that. Her soul charge is pretty solid for sure, and divine force when she has it, sure, not bad. But there's only so many ways you can get divine force, and so I think she's solid though. Like I have no complaints about the character. I don't really think I'd change her design. Don't get me wrong. I don't think she needs buffs. I just think that she's if you really want to run the show as Cassandra, it's just a bit of a linear playstyle. And the horizontals, albeit they're good, but I don't know if they're enough to really prevent me from stepping the entire fucking game, personally. But maybe Valdo players feel otherwise because his sidestep's garbage. I don't know. Hilda, you know what? I think Hilda could actually go higher on my list. I don't know enough about her yet. But based on what I've seen, heard, and played against personally, I think she's a really solid character. I don't know anything about her matchups though. So she might have a dumpster fire matchup. She might have free matchups. I don't know. So I'm confident in putting her in A tier. I just don't know where, really. I just don't know where. I think she's a really good character though. She has a Hell Sweep with Blue Spear. It's 53 or 54 damage, something like that. So that's really good. It's the only time you have to respect her low game though, and that's kind of why I don't think she'd ever be like mm, any higher than maybe Raph or Yoshi. Is that her throw game is whatever, and her low game just isn't there without Blue Spear. Like, don't get me wrong, the Hell Sweep's good, and the 1K series is good. Like, duh, they're good moves, but it's just not enough without having like a really good throw game to really open someone up. Um, Her horizontals though are there. They're there. The charge A's are mad good, and her guard damage is there. Her Oki game is fucking insane. Like if there's anything that oh yeah, and her movement and her Oki are fucking insane. But I do not with confidence know enough about this character to really put her in a great spot. But my first impressions are I throw her here, because she doesn't really have much of an offensive game plan unless she's constantly hitting you with like counterattacks or the break attacks. And a lot of times the break attacks are either highs or steppable. So that's the thing. That's the thing. But she's definitely not like an offensive powerhouse. It's not what she's designed to do. Um, it's just you're gonna have to have good movement and a lot of knowledge about when and why to use your buttons and where to use them in order to have success with Hilda. I think Hilda will only see success by those who are just really good players. I think she could bring out kind of like Geralt in a way. I think if a good fundamental player plays Hilda, they could see a great amount of success. But that's more of a theory. I don't know yet. We'll have to see. I'm gonna head out. I mean, hey, he plays Servi. Servi is solid. Again, solid, right? Don't really have any complaints. He controls a ton of space on the screen in the mid range, and he controls it with Horde mids. His whiff punish game with IGDR is there, as well as I believe it's 3B plus K. I could be wrong on that notation, but it's like lunges forward and shoots you. It's a new move we got in season 2, so that's there for a bit faster option than IGDR. And then of course his CE is a whiff punish tool. That's still there. His combo damage is crazy when he gets a combo. Um, the biggest thing with Cervantes though is that the amount of times that he's minus on moves that just don't deserve to be as minus as they are is quite frequent. Outside of like A6 and a couple pokes, everything he does is quite in minus. So I think again, like A tier, there's a reason why it's middle of the pack. I think that all of these characters have their own strengths, and I think they're all in a really good place. I think Servi is fine. I wouldn't really change him, other than obviously fixing some consistency issues. Like he still has some of the most bugs in the game, or some of the worst bugs in the game. Um, but past that, I think he's really solid. For the record, I'm open to discussion on almost everyone on this list. So, and I've seen all the tier list people were posting, and I think players either oversell certain things about characters or undersell certain things about characters in season 2 because so many characters are good. It's really hard. So mine will be different than everyone else's, and everyone else's will be different than mine. That's the whole fun of this. A minus tier. Moving on to A minus tier. We have Grow, Killick, Talum, Tira, uh, Valdo, and then just to finish off the pack. Oh, no, sorry. There. And then, yeah, okay. So Grow, I think Grow's okay. My thing with Grow is that when he's not in Soul Charge, I'm not afraid of a damn thing he can do. Like, nothing Grow does is like, oh my god. And if you're playing a character who has an I-10, he literally cannot use Avenger Stance, with the sole exception of the +3 on hit, or the +3 transitions, which I think are A plus B and 4 for A. I could be wrong. I have to double check that. I'd have to double check that. But outside of that, I think Grow is kind of whatever. Like he's very much a whatever character. He has things, he does things, but it's like I don't know. I just think he doesn't play neutral as well as the guys above him, like Cervantes and Geralt, right? Very similar neutral styles. He doesn't really have good check buttons. His 3A is a very, I think it's one of the best 3As in the game, and his 2A is good range. But he just doesn't have like an X factor that makes me go, man, this character's strong, except for some of his soul charge stuff. And I really emphasize some because the teleport stuff isn't as real offline as it is online. And even then, some characters can totally deal with it. Um, at least raw teleport stuff. His soul charge Avenger sequence, I believe it is BKB or KBK, something like that. It's really good. It's a great transition, but it's whatever. Like you can block it. It's whatever. And Soul Charge 1AK is reactable. Don't at me. So that's not really a threat either. 4A, yeah, I might be thinking of 4A. It's really slow. He kind of like steps to the side. It's like going in, and I could be wrong. It's one of those transitions. I'm not sure. And if you're Taki, for example, if you're Taki, he literally can't use any of his transitions. So there's that. If you're really having trouble with Grow, just pick Taki. It's like the one thing she's good at. But we'll get there. So anyway, that's Grow. I think he's a whatever character. Like he's fine. He's fine. I think he could use some love. I think he could use an identity. And if they want that identity to be teleporting, I think they got to introduce something like it outside of Soul Charge. Like I don't think that he stands out right now. I think he's very run of the mill, very like whatever kind of character. Um, and actually, you know what? With that said, let me just do that because I think Killick is solid too, but actually has an identity. So Killick, skipped one. Killick, um, excuse me. Killick is fine. Killick is a man with a very flexible kit. I think that's a good way to describe Killick. Like, if you need to play him defensively, you totally can. If you have to play him keep out, you totally can. If you have to kind of bring the pain a little bit and jab trade, you totally can. And 4A being a lethal hit eventually down the road, it's a thing, right? It's a thing. Um, so he has that. He has the tools to win the game. And you know, some of the best players in the game are Killick players, and that just goes to show you how strong he is, right? It's just I think the people above him are even stronger, right? Um, Killick's Soul Charge is pretty wild. It's pretty solid. Outside of Soul Charge, though, you're kind of just he's kind of looking to get whiffs, um, or just land some cheeky hits. And so if you're playing a character who has comparatively good neutral, I think that Killick is a little bit on the back foot. Now, again, I don't really know enough about Killick's matchups to make a comment on that, but that's what I feel is that if he's playing against a neutral character, he's outclassed. If he's playing against a rushdown character, he's outclassed in rushdown. And if he's playing against a character who can turtle better than he can, he's outclassed in turtling. So I think that he's just a solid, well-rounded character. But when he soul charges, his rushdown game definitely kind of ups the ante, and he has some tools in there that he can really mess around with. For example, like pillars being a force block into itself, or like comboing into the soul charge CE and the ways he can do that. Granted, they nerfed it, and that's a big hit to him, in my opinion, because that was kind of the craziness of him. But when they hit it, it was kind of like, what? So I think he's a solid character, though. And they buffed Monument as well. So Monument A, or rather, Monument used to be useless. He used to just be able to basically step block the whole thing. Now he has, I believe that it's Monument AK, and Monument AK will catch you. Um, or something like that. Uh, and it will catch you now. So it's not brain dead to defend against like it used to be. So that's a good thing. So Keelik is solid. But I still think I actually still want to see Keelik buffs. Like I want to see this character buffed. Personally. Personally. Tira. Tira is you know what, like I'm not saying Tira is bad because everyone else says Tira is bad. However, I don't think that she does anything outstanding other than backwards walk uh, or backstep, but Sophie does that too. Um, and the whole like baiting people in with taunting at range, Songmina has the same game plan. Like when I think of Tira, here's the truth. Okay, when I think of Tira, I think you're just playing a lesser form of Songmina. That's how I feel. Anyway, you're trying to like bait whiffs for no reason. Or rather, I guess with Tira, there is a purpose getting Coda. But like all of her strings are shit. The 6B sequence you can OS. The Coda is probably the only thing she has going for her. But a lot like Rose's, it's gonna be in like the end of the game before she gets it. Usually. And even then, the scariest thing about Coda is the command or the unbreakable grab. So if you start using more jumps and more ducks, then you'll be okay. Gloomy is solid, right? Like Gloomy Tira is solid. However, the problem with Gloomy Tira is a lot of the strings and stuff, again, steppable. Or like you don't want to be minus 14 against Gloomy Tira because 3A is an I-14 punish. It's mad good for that reason. But outside of not wanting to B minus 14. You can deal with Coda, or not Coda, Gloomy just fine. The biggest thing with Gloomy, though, it truly is, I think the fact it gains literally 0 meter is awful. Like, again, I was talking about this. I think that meter is so important in Season 2. It's like you have to build it. And Jolly has the capabilities of building really good meter, but you have to sacrifice the combo path to the mood change in order to secure the meter off of like lethal hits and stuff. Now I'm no Tira expert, but I know that there's a lethal hit that goes into the 4/4 A plus B A, like where she spins around and around and builds meter, and it builds a fuck ton of meter. But like she could have swapped the Gloomy there and gotten a full combo, right? So it depends who you are. Jolly though, for the record, I think Jolly is I think people downplay Jolly. I think people downplay Jolly so hard. I actually prefer to play Tira when she's in Jolly. True story. Don't at me. Like, don't get me wrong. However, however, the frame data in Jolly is what makes it so rough. And realistically, like, she has tools, right? She has the tools to work with, but there are no lows outside of 1B in Jolly and 1K in Gloomy. The throw game isn't really there outside of Coda, and the frame data is just so dumpster fire in Jolly, and the strings themselves are kind of dumpster fire in both. I just don't think that she has the leg to stand on compared to the people above her. And I also think if you're playing Tira, why not play Mina? They have similar neutrals, similar weaknesses, but Mina just does it way better. Like, I don't know. So I think the problem with Tira right now, in my opinion, is that she's outclassed. But that doesn't mean that she's unplayable. Nobody in this game is unplayable. So all the power to you. But those are my thoughts on Tira. Not exactly a hot take, I know, but I think people downplay her for the wrong reasons. I think people just say she's bad because she's bad, and they don't really have a reason for saying that she's bad. Whereas I've put time into the character, I've watched the character, and even if you just look at the raw data, it is there. It is there. You don't want to play Mina because you don't want to scorch the earth. Yeah, true story. Valdo, I don't know. Like, I think Valdo, I think Valdo also suffers from not really having an identity. And what I mean by that is, with the hits he took to Mantis throughout the evolution of the game, um, they kind of just took that strength away from him in some matchups. And in general, it is a beatable stance in most every situation. Um, and if you look at his neutral game, if you're not like me and Potato every time he does moves in neutral, a lot of them are punishable, and the range on them is better. Like when I think of Valdo neutral, it very much reminds me of Cervantes neutral. It very much reminds me of Cervantes neutral, and so Cervantes actually gets better combo damage. Granted, not better Oki, but the Oki that Valdo has, it's not like previously at one point he was kind of the not the king of Oki, but like his Oki was mad good. It was like top five. And now it's average, right? It's average at best. It may not be the worst, but it's average at best, and the frame data just isn't there. A lot of his strings are kind of meh. He's very slow for like in comparison to a character with sorry, to compare to a character with similar range, he's very slow in front facing. His blind stance is a bit faster, sure, but it's very stubby. So if you're playing a character who has longer range than Valdo, there's really nothing Valdo can do. Like that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest issue. And I think that either give him back the Oki pressure or give him strength somewhere else. Because right now, I don't think Valdo has that many strengths. And granted, we don't see a lot of Valdo play anymore, but if someone knows the matchup really well, there's really not a whole lot he can do. Um, and is like, why am I playing this character compared to somebody else? That's the biggest thing with Valdos. Much like Tira, I just think he's outclassed, but still playable. Talon, Talum is okay. So I'll give the caveat. I hate Talum. I hate playing against this character so much. Like, I hate what she forces you to do. I hate what she does. I hate everything about this character. I hate the random CEs that you're allowed to do because reasons. I hate the soul charge or reversal edge cancels, and I hate her soul charge so much. But, but, if you're playing a character, uh, if you're playing a character who can either keep her away or can contest her up close, and depending on your character, you can actually OS multiple of the stances at once, or all options but two. Uh, like I can give you an example. Um, Shenghua's 4B, because of its range and the way it's built, and its I-12. It can actually beat every single option Talon can do off of most transitions, except for Wind Charmer K and Wind Salt A plus B. It beats every single other option except for that. Wind Fury is just bad in most matchups because you're really not going to get the value you need out of BB. And actually, off of some transitions, she can't even hit the BB, even if you just stood there. Like if you went to 2A Wind Charmer, literally the Wind Fury BB would whiff. Like just because of the range. If they increase the range on Wind Fury BB, I think that would actually go quite a long way into making her a bit better. Because that way you could actually use it to bait the 2A or the quick jab and then explosions, right? And now, OS. OS, hey Destro. OS just refers to, well, technically it's option select mini and a series of inputs that do different things depending on what the opponent does. In Soul Calibur, we kind of use the term as one answer to beat everything. Um, Now, here's the thing with Talum, right? I know people who think that she's ridiculous. Like I know people who think that they would probably put her right here, right behind Yoshi. And I know people who think that she's here, right? Here's the deal. I'll give you both sides of the coin, right? Talum has plus 24 transitions. Yes, that's true. Talum has, but Zedd, Talum has super evasive attacks. Yes, that's true. Talum can like chunk your ass and lethal hit you post break or post guard break with Wind Fury BB. Yes, also true. And then what else? Zedd, her soul charge is fucking ridiculous. Yes, okay, sure. She can RE cancel and cancel her CE for a free approach. Yes. Okay. You're not wrong on most of that. However, the problem is if she reversal edge cancels, she used reversal edge. She's down 20% guard. Okay. Um, and likely you're not even going to get hit by whatever she cancels into. It's just kind of annoying to deal with. The CE to get in, she used a bar to get in for a plus 24 transition. And if you have a horizontal auto GI, you can literally auto GI the CE third hit and beat majority of the stance options. Again, I can tell you that Xianghua does. Um, what else? The soul charge. Heaven forbid that she's a little bit oppressive for 10 seconds, right? Sorry, right? Like, come on, she needs something. You can't just nerf the soul charge and call it a day. That would be ridiculous. Um, She doesn't really have a good approach game at all because non-soul charged Falcon Punch 6-6B, in other words, is a high and it's slow and it's easy to whiff punish. And um, yeah, you can hit her out of her RE if you're patient enough, as it is. Granted, her reversal edge options in reversal edge are quite good. I'll give her that. But like whatever, right? Her lethal hits, they are kind of uh, like for the most part, her lethal hits are a little inconsistent. They're a little hard to use, um, and they're not really like ones that you can fall back on and like this is how I'm gonna get my damage. It's gonna be this lethal hit. Like no, not really. Her back turn stuff like mixing all that she got in season 2, like whatever. You're getting hit by the low, which goes into nothing, or the mid, which is minus. Like, well, they're both minus, but like whatever. Um, the biggest thing is if you can learn her strings and what they do, and if you can learn her transitions and see what your character can do to deal with it, she all of a sudden becomes a hell of a lot easier. Now, again, I preface this. I hate this character. I hate this character, but I still deal with it. And like, she's not that good. I just hate it so much. Um, and her wind charmer and wind salt, a lot of that loses to 2A because wind salt will, like, a lot of it goes over you by accident because you're 2Aing and you're crouching down. Um, but wind salt A plus B, the right, minus 14. Like, it's a free punish, and you're not left in full crouch or forced crouch, which it looks like you are, but you're not. So whatever your standard I-14 punish is, you're gonna get it. Wind Charmer K beats 2A, but that's it. Like, Wind Charmer K, that's it. She punts you away, and it's not her turn anymore. And she's essentially reset neutral, which is where Talon doesn't want to be. 5 AABA, 5 AAB, 5 AAA plus B, and 5 AAB hold. That entire string, the 5A series, is awful because the AAA plus B, jails, punishable. The AAB, if she just stops it there, punishable. And the AABA, you can duck. And the AABB, the AABB on hit is whatever, but on block it's punishable. And if she holds it and goes into Wind Fury, literally on hit, you can step crouch block, and you will beat every option she has out of Wind Fury. Literally every option. You can step the kicks, you'll step the B, and you can low block the A. And if you want to challenge Wind Charmer, then you step and do a jumping attack. Literally. Like, if you haven't labbed it before, AABB hold on hit is awful. And you can, like, see, I'll take that all day. I will take that all day. So duck the A every single time. And if you don't want to even mix it, you can GI the fourth hit in that string if you really don't want to fuck with it. That's the only reason why a Talon would ever do 5 AAB, is thinking that you're going to GI. That is the only reason. 2-A from Talon is a horizontal mid tech crouch. Punishable on block, and the transition is -2 on block, so it's terrible. But that move's pretty solid. 4-4B, not bad as well, but some characters can punish it as well. If she goes for Wind Fury, Shunhua can't, so that's pretty free for her. But I know some characters who can. And then, oh yeah, full crouch 3BB. So she crouches and goes like, and it's like a multi-hitting transition. It's a good transition, but you can GI in between the 2B attacks. A lot of people don't know that. The window is pretty tight too. So, like, there's some anti-Talum tech for you because she's pretty cancer. No one likes this character, uh, but it's a thing. So yeah, I don't know. That's Talum. Like, you can pick apart this character all day. What is needed to punish 4-4B depends on your character, and it depends on what stance she goes into. Um, So anyway, that's Talon. I could go on for a while, so I'll just move on. Taki, I think Taki is shit. Let me just be straight up. I think Taki is shit. I think the Taki Discord, I think a lot of what they want is unreasonable, but I do think this character needs something. And I don't know what it is, but they hit her new low that she got out of Stalker for no reason. And her frame data is the biggest problem. Like, her frame data is awful. She cannot maintain any form of pressure without going into possession. And if she goes into possession, you basically can just 2A everything other than possession B plus K, which is like the biggest read ever. And even then, if she's late to the party, you can still block it. So, and like her combo damage, this is the other thing. Even if she lands that, right? Even if she lands that, she still can't use the unblockable setups anymore. So all that like the 100 plus damage she used to get for landing that move, gone, right? Or Ninja Bomb, right? A plus B. Takis, you just spam that shit because it's such a good A plus B attack for what it was, and it would convert directly into unblockable, full unscaled damage, and you were fucked. There was nothing you could do about it if the Taki did it correctly. Absolutely nothing. I think there were like two characters that could deal with it, and one of them was Shanghua. Ha, privilege. But um, that's all gone. Like that's all gone. You can tech it now. Um, so or it does less damage, or both. I don't really know. I just crybaby it. 5 head. So it's like Taki doesn't do any significant damage, and she makes up for it, I guess, in theory, with chip damage, or grabs, but it's not enough. And that's the biggest thing. It's not enough. Possession is awful. 4BA is like by far her best transition. It sucks because it's a mid high. You can duck it. Granted, trickier online for sure, but doable offline every time with a bit of practice. And like, yeah, I don't know. Taki's got some serious problems. The biggest problem though is her frame data. Like her frame data and damage ratio, like it's not there. She needs to hit harder with frame data like that, or she needs better frames if she wants to rush down like how they've intended the character to be played. But you can't play her the way she's intended to be played, and that's the biggest problem. Um, you can still play her. She got this new move in season two. I want to say it's 6/6 A plus B or 6/6 B plus K. I don't really know. It's an approach tool. That's pretty good. Like that was awesome. That move's great. However, it has serious whiffing problems. I've seen and had happen to me many times where it literally goes through somebody, or she leaps right past the opponent and is facing the wrong way, or like it sucks. And like that's the problem is it's not even a consistent button to work with, and so it's like how can you like what are you supposed to do? Nothing. And then last to finish off the list, okay, obviously Inferno, but like whatever, it doesn't count. To finish off the list is Astaroth. So for the record, I think that Astaroth is fucking annoying. And I think that like I think he does too much damage, but I mean that's just me bitching to bitch. I don't think it would be wise to nerf his damage, otherwise the character would actually be F tier. Um, the problem with Astaroth is that he just cannot contest. Like his soul attack sucks. His reversal edge sucks. His soul charge options not there. His armor suck. Like nightmare armor is way better than Astaroth's armor. Like what a dumpster fire. He does not have an I-12 um other than 4A. Yeah, 4A, which is like a hilt smack, right? Um so like whatever. He doesn't need an I-12 necessarily, but like there's that. His 2A is mad slow, but it's an actual low. Um, his 2K is kind of whatever. The problem with Astaroth though isn't even any of that. That is not it. They rather fight Lolo Asti than Clobs. The problem with Astaroth stems from the fact that he doesn't really have like a winning matchup. Now, don't get me wrong. In season 2, he got a new move. I think it's BA or BA6 or something, where he swings the axe down and he pulls it left and he pulls it right. That move is A's. that move is so dumb. I hate that move. It is so ridiculous for what it does. It jails, it catches you if you try to GI. Like I fucking hate that move so much. But you know what? It's the only thing that I give a shit about in the Astaroth matchup. Everything else is hot garbage. Like he sure he has his bull rushes, but they're both I think one is minus 12 and one is minus 14, I think, or one is minus 10, was minus 12, I forget. And then his lows aren't really there outside of 2K. He has 1/1 1/1 BK, which is like he swings the axe forward and then he bull rushes you, but you can GI that halfway through. A lot of players don't know that. Um, his command throw situation's at +8. The problem with Astaroth being +8 for the Astaroth is what is Astaroth going to do at +8? That's a problem. Like rethrow you, maybe. But because of how his lows work and the fact that he doesn't really get any launcher situations outside of 2GB, like as a traditional launcher, right? Um, he doesn't. In theory, if you break every Astaroth throw, that character isn't gonna deal any damage to you. Like that's the truth. And so they kind of coined in on this grapple style almost a little too hard, and they made everything else kind of whatever. But again, but again, um, the the BA, I think that move does wonders for him, but that's it. Like that is it. And like everything else is just not good enough. His CE absolutely reactable offline, and God, even online sometimes. Um, it's not there. His soul attack is awful. His reversal edge options in reversal edge, yes, very good. But the move itself is awful. Like I I cannot emphasize that further. Um, with all that said, though, this character is still competitive. And the reason why is because if he makes 3 or 4 right guesses, you're dead. Like all it takes for Astaroth is 4 touches, 3 touches, you're dead. You're done. There's nothing you could do. You are you are nothing. You are minced meat. Like you're done. So he's like he just I try to think of a good way to put it, but like he's all in or nothing. Like he's all or nothing. And I don't know. BA does really good for him, but it's not enough to really suffice in a lot of matchups. Granted, what BA does really well is it made his awful matchups slightly better. And what I mean by that is characters who could get in on him for free and apply their pressure now have to worry about BA. So there's that. But he's not getting anything for that. Like you can take BA all day in theory, right? In theory, you can take it the entire game and whatever. Like um, as long as you don't get fucked by 2TB um, or like yeah 2TB or his throws, that's it. Like and the throws in theory you can break every single time, and his armor just isn't good enough. If his armor like if multi-hit moves didn't go through his armor, I think it would be fine. I still think you should be able to low it because you can also low nightmares, right? That's still fine. But multi-hit moves don't work against nightmares, and they do against Astaroths, and that I don't think is. I don't think that's fine. But that might be too much. I don't know. I don't know. I hate the character. Same with Talon. I hate this character. Like I think the Xianghua matchup is ass against Astaroth. I don't have a Hora mid, and that's her biggest weakness in this matchup. Is I can't really do anything about Bull Rush other than other than like 5B spam or 3K spam or 2A. But then 2A, I'm opening myself up to armor. So, I mean, it's not a fantastic matchup for X, but like there are so many characters in this game that can just farm Astaroth so hard. Um, and like with how popular Maxi is right now, and like Mina, Ivy, Sophie, those characters demolish Astaroth. So, Borush is considered a kick, yes. Otherwise, that matchup would also be free for Xianghua. Yeah, because it's 6/6K or full crouch 3K. Yeah. But anywho, for the purpose of the video, that's my tier list. Let me know in the comments what you think and what your thoughts are. A lot of people disagree with mine, but I'm pretty confident in it. And I think right now a lot of people overestimate a lot of stuff that a lot of the cast have. So I think it's a matter of time before people's opinions of certain characters, not all, certain characters, start to go down a bit as they figure some stuff out. And with the World Tour around the corner, we start to see more players and more tech come out. I think the tier lists will still shift up and down, but I think that a lot of the characters who people are like, this character's broken, uh, what do I do? Will go down in tier as well. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you later.